hold, and this lens manages to be the same size as the Z mount 70 to 200 millimeter lens. When I received my package from Nikon, I was expecting a heavy, bulky lens. This surprise made me wonder, how did Nikon get all this in them jeans? I want to thank all the viewers that have watched my channel. Your feedback and comments make this channel grow. By the way, my name is Vaughn. Now let's get into why this lens is so compact and manageable. Having toted around larger zoom lenses like the Nikkor 200 to 500 millimeter f5.6, go to my link above, and the Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter f5.6 to 6.3 millimeter, go to the link above. With those lenses, my arm gave into camera fatigue from carrying such a large lens, and with the F to Z adapter, that made the weight even worse, and so it contributed to some of the camera shake in some photos. The Nikon 200 to 400 millimeter lens managed to come in at 5.1 pounds. That's heavy. And the Sigma lens, 4.25 pounds, and add the F to Z adapter, and you definitely will need a tripod. The Nikon Z 100 to 400 millimeter VR is only 3 pounds, and you don't need that pesky F to Z adapter. You can leave it at home. Now let's quickly go into the specs. The 100 to 400 millimeter lens is 12 inches plus in length. With the lens hood and extended, it's 13.2 inches in length. That is short in comparison to the older lenses like the 200 to 500 millimeters, which is 14.4 inches without the lens hood. Next, let's go into the build quality. The build quality is Nikon S level. It's made of a magnesium alloy core. The weather sealing is superb. There are 13 rings of weather sealing and 9 gaskets around switches and buttons. On the lens, you'll get an OLED display that can show the focal length, the aperture, the focusing distance, and the depth of field. On the lens itself are function buttons that you can assign. If you're a sports or action photographer, these function buttons are essential, but for the average user, you probably won't use them. Attached to the lens is a tripod collar which rotates. The foot is removable but not Arca Swiss compatible. The lens comes with the HB 103 hood, which can be reversed. Ta-da! The lens hood has a lock. The lens hood has a lock, so don't forget to release the lock or you'll damage the hood. And when you get ready to put the lens hood back on, just line the 2 dots up and it locks right in place again. Inside this lens, you will find 25 elements in 20 groups. 6 elements are ED and 2 are super ED glass. There are no atmospheric elements in this lens. To reduce flare and ghosting, Nikon uses Arnold and nano coatings. With zoom lenses, you expect zoom creep, but not with this one. It just locks in place. It stays where you want to go, doesn't move. Focus breathing in this lens is minimal. Another amazing thing about this lens is it focuses down to over 3 feet at 400 millimeter. But one downside to this lens is focus shift. When zooming, you may have to refocus when zooming. This is normal for non-parafocal zoom lenses. Parafocal lenses maintain the focus point while zooming. A bonus for this lens is it has built-in VR in the lens. With the Z-body, Synchro VR is used. You can get an additional 5.5 stops with the addition of this feature. So if you're hand holding, you will need those extra stops. Let's move on to the performance. If you're using a 1.4 teleconverter, this lens becomes a 140 to 560 millimeter zoom, but the image quality may suffer slightly. With the DX crop, the lens now becomes a 150 millimeter to 650 millimeter. These factors should be considered when purchasing this lens. Let's test the sharpness of the Nikon Nikkor Z 100 to 400 millimeter f4.5 5.6 BR lens. Here's a photo that I took while on site of some pigeons on a ledge at the electric company. This is at 100 millimeters. Let's do it 100%. See what the sharpness looks like. This is at 210 millimeters. .6. Sharpness improved slightly. Let's go to another photo. And these are the birds at 400 millimeter at f16. Can you tell the difference in the sharpness at 100%? Let's go back out. See any difference in the sharpness? And this lens is also great at landscape work. And this is the lens at 100 millimeters. Let's move on to the autofocus. One of the main reasons I wanted to test this S-line zoom lens was for the autofocus. I previously did a test with a Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter zoom lens with the autofocus tracking modes, and my test results were criticized due to the lens not being a native Z lens. Here are my test results for the Nikkor Z 100 to 400 millimeter f4.5 to 5.6 VR lens attached to the Nikon Z6 II. First, animal detection autofocus. As you can see, the camera is having trouble finding the duck swimming even with the camera set with AFC. Next, wide area autofocus. This mode was able to track the duck swimming but drifted as the ducks were further away. To give the autofocus system some help, I chose the focus point and focused on the black bird in the frame. The bird didn't have enough contrasting features for the camera's autofocus system to get a focus lock. Don't let these tests deter you from purchasing this lens. I use a dynamic focus mode with AFC to capture action with my zoom lens and the Nikon Z6 II. I found an article that shows that the Nikon Z9 with its faster target acquisition algorithm and faster processor outperforms the Z6 II and the Z7 II with Z-mount lenses and F-mount lenses. Basically, these S-line zoom lenses are meant for the Nikon Z9. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Nikkor 100 to 400 millimeter S-line zoom lens. This lens is well crafted for the professionals in the field with its weather sealing and its other function buttons. It's easy to hand hold, but if you're holding it for an extended period of time, you will need a tripod or a monopod. Of almost $3,000, this lens costs more than the Nikon Z6 II. This lens is for the next generation of Z cameras, maybe even the Z8. Think about this, if Nikon releases a new camera with comparable features to the Z9, then this lens will be in step with your new camera and not out of step like the F-mount lenses. Thanks for watching this video, and please leave those comments and watch my other Nikon videos on your favorite cameras and lenses.